All right, and welcome back to the RoyalVision podcast. I'm your host, Alex Taylor, and today we have an absolutely fantastic athlete, actually our first interview, and I couldn't have asked for a better athlete to star our brand new audio-only podcast here at the University of Scranton. She's the only two-time All-American in the field hockey team history to make a double All-American. She holds the school record for 24 career assists, 132 overall career points, and is second in goals with a total of 54. We have Katie Redding.
Oh, thank you so much for having me today.
Absolutely. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. You know, the allergies around town. I mean,
Yeah.
Great place to live, right?
Right.
At least the sun's out today.
Yeah,
So you're a senior,
I am.
right? And so how long have you been playing field hockey just in your life?
I started in second grade, so I was around 8. I didn't want to do travel soccer, so my mom was like, well, you got to do something. And they found a field hockey league, and I signed up with a couple of friends, and now here I am.
So it wasn't involved in the school at all? It was just,
No, it was like a rec league, but my town didn't have anything, so I kind of like found one like a couple towns over, and I would go like twice a week and just play.
nice.
Yeah.
And it just like stuck.
It stuck, yeah.
And you're from Havertown, Pennsylvania?
Yep.
And you attended Haverford?
Haverford. Yes.
Haverford High School. And did they have any teams at that high school?
Yeah. We have like pretty much every sport team there. I played field hockey all 4 years I was there. I was on varsity from sophomore year to my senior year.
Oh, okay. So they even had
They had like varsity
they had
JV.
full-on varsity teams.
Yeah.
Wow, for every sport.
Yep.
Wow, that's very impressive. I mean, I come from a high school around the area, Western Wayne, and we had like the JV and stuff, but it was only some of the main sports. You know, you're thinking like soccer, football. So it's always interesting to hear that high schools had enough funding and support to do the whole thing. So that's amazing. And what do you think is the thing that you carried from high school to here? Because people do change a lot, right? And sometimes for the better and sometimes for the worse. But something that's always consistent is athletes do bring a little part of something from their high school to their college career. So what do you think is that for you?
I think I learned in high school what culture really was. I played 2 varsity sports. I played field hockey and basketball, and I was blessed to like play with girls that were like a family to me. And my high school did a really good job of like instilling like this is where you're from, and like you're gonna be proud of like who you are, what you do, and like who you play for. And that's something that I brought here. But that like culture was already a big thing here, so it wasn't like that big of an adjustment to be like, I'm on this team is my family, and I'm gonna do what I can to represent this team as best as I can.
Do you think we have like, how would you describe our player culture here at the University of Scranton?
I think I think the athletic department, one, does a really good job at recognizing the athletes, but I also think every athlete here wants to be the best at what they do and also support each other and every other team like while we're doing it. So I just think it's very like inclusive like community to be a part of, and like everybody is happy for everyone's achievements here.
I completely agree. Only being like a spectator, I mean, you go to these events and they're just super, I mean, it feels like you're just walking into like a town community, like, and it's honestly, it can be to like the Royal Way, honestly is the way to go. And, we're super blessed to have that. Kind of going into that, as we mentioned in the intro, you were the only 2-time All-American for women's field hockey history, I should say. And what kind of feelings invoke, like when someone like says that, or like you have that title, what comes with just bearing the weight of that?
I feel a lot of honor to receive a title like that because, I mean, out of all of like the Division III schools across the country, like to be named like on a list with like girls that are that amazing and like my name is on that list, like it's an honor and it's a privilege. And I mean, there was a lot of sacrifices that like I've made growing up to get to this point in my career, but I also couldn't have done it without my teammates because they're the ones that set me up to score the goals and to be successful, and like they're the ones that have my back when I mess up. And I wouldn't have been able to make it this far if I didn't have those girls behind me.
What would you say is probably like the best piece of advice you can give? Say a transfer just came and they're a freshman transfer and they just came on the team for the first time. They're walking in and they're seeing the community we have. What would be the best piece of advice you would give to them today?
That's a good question. I think for me, like my mindset always is like my work ethic is I always like tell myself that someone's working harder than me. There's always someone out there that's doing one more rep, one more hit, one more like pole. So I keep that in the back of my mind, and I don't want anyone to beat me. So if like I were to talk to someone coming in, like I would tell them to keep that mindset. Like there's someone out there that's always trying to do more than you. So you got to put that effort in, you got to put that time in so that when push comes to shove, if you come up against them, you're the one that comes out on top.
Amazing. Yeah. Beautiful answer. So you're a senior, right?
Yeah.
So this is a big final semester,
Yeah.
right?
It's crazy.
You have any exact plans after this?
Well, I'm in a 5-year program,
Okay.
occupational therapy. So I'm not lucky, but I have the COVID year.
Right.
So I have all intentions of taking that. So I will be coming back and playing next year and getting my master's degree.
Oh my gosh, masters.
Yeah.
That's great. So that being allowed that COVID year. Now I'm not exactly sure if that's a specific for D3 having that allowed. Do you know about that?
All division sports got that, but my class is the last one to be granted that COVID year. So like every grade below me doesn't have that now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense because you got a pretty good portion taken out of your
I
experience.
missed my freshman year. We didn't play. We had like a spring season, but it was 4 scrimmages. They didn't count. And we kind of just like practiced. But like that fall coming in my freshman year, like we were broken up into small pods and like kind of just like had to do what you had to do.
Right.
So it was definitely a tough year, but in the grand scheme of things, like I think everything happens for a reason, and I'm just excited that I am gifted the opportunity, 1, to be in a 5-year program, that I'll be here, and 2, to be able to keep going.
Yeah, it's definitely awesome, and having that final year. I mean, what is that just going to do for like the future of the entire program? Because I mean, all of you guys, I know you have a very special play in all the rest of your teammates, lives and what they're thinking about on the team. So just being able to even have that opportunity and being able to utilize it to the max, like, just how does that feel?
It feels good. I think, this year didn't really end necessarily how we wanted it to. And that's also another reason why I feel really grateful that I can come back and kind of finish what I've started. We have a lot of big goals that we want to accomplish this year as a team. So I think being able to come back and, like with the same group of girls, like we know how each other play. We know like our mindsets. We know what builds us up. We know what brings us down, to like have that support and have everyone on the same page of we're going to get back and we're going to redeem ourselves almost, is like, I think it's going to be really exciting.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely very excited to see, especially how you guys get another chance. I know a few seniors that are just ecstatic about it and are going to take full advantage. So it's definitely a blessing that you guys get that. We talked a little bit before we started recording about SAC that you're on.
Yeah.
So you're a committee member on this.
Yeah, I've been on SAC since my freshman year. Basically, it's like a student athlete advisory committee. We meet like once every 2 weeks for like an hour or so. And it's a couple student athletes from every team, and we kind of come together and we put our heads together about how we can do mental health awareness games or fundraising, or we do the thing called the Iggies, which is kind of like the Grammys, but Scranton student athlete version. So we work really hard like the whole year to like kind of get the ballot together, get athletes' names like on the list, and then we do the big event in May. So it's pretty exciting.
How do you think having like a vote in that, and especially bringing up like these big issues, it can even be like specific, like you said, mental health, but even, that it goes even further because like all of you are student athletes, right? And then you have your own set of mental health, stress, just even juggling it all, and I think having an opportunity to have a voice is really amazing. Just some more insight on like even having like a say in that, like how does that affect your daily life?
It's something that's always been really important to me. Just like being a student athlete, it's a big load. You have to perform well in class as well as in the field, and sometimes it gets really hard to split the two things and kind of not have them bleed into each other. So I think it's really great that SAC does like a huge job at like prioritizing our mental health as well as like the athletic department. And being a D3 athlete, like we don't necessarily get all the benefits that the D1, D2 kids get. Like this is something we sign up to do, and like we don't get a bunch of free gear, and we don't get that lavish kind of life that they have. So it kind of sometimes gets swept under the rug for us. So kind of just like being able to vocalize like that mental health is still important no matter what level you're at is something that's like really important to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. And even so, you do a lot of work even separate from the school. You're partnered with the Del Carmen Foundation, and this is a foundation that helps collect sports gear and equipment for underprivileged kids in Venezuela.
Yep.
And I'd just love to hear more about that. I mean, I
Yeah.
heard about the foundation name, and I was just instantly hooked. So I just need to hear some experience about that.
Yeah, this is a really, really interesting story. So I met Carmen. It's her foundation. I met her over the summer, and I just loved what she had to say about her foundation and like what their role was. Because being an athlete and growing up with the life that I had, like I'm extremely privileged. Like my parents like could afford to put me in club sports and could sign me up to do things and buy me the gear that I needed and to get me here. So being able to partner with a foundation to give back to kids that had the same goal that I had when I was little, and pretty much every student athlete that's here, I mean, they went on to that next step in their athletic journey to play collegiate sports. Like we all had that dream as a kid to make it here. So like to be able to help like underprivileged kids reach the dream that I have, it just was something that was so important to me.
And I was just wondering if you ever get to like see this ever being like fulfilled, like maybe you get to like see one of the kids with the gear. I was just ever wondering like that's because that would just be like something so amazing just to see back.
Yeah, so I did like a gear collection at the end of like the semester, and I put boxes out for people, and even like a lot of coaches like drop stuff in the box, and I got to drop it off to Carmen because she was going to Venezuela for like a month around Christmas to bring gifts to them. And she sent me a bunch of like she posted a bunch of videos of like the kids getting the stuff, and it was just like such like a full circle moment because to them that's everything, you know, and to me like I get to pick up my stick every day and go to the field or go to practice, and like to them like that's some of the only stuff that they'll ever have.
Right.
So
Yeah, that's honestly amazing. You started like dipping a little bit into talking about like a D3 athlete, and I think that, like you did say, D3 sometimes gets a little underrepresented because I feel like definitely our athletes sacrifice a little bit more of their time, sacrifice a little bit more of their lives for it, just because just the determination of wanting to do it, you know. And I think you illustrated that beautifully, and just saying. But I think you guys also get a lot more opportunity to do things like this, to help to focus way more on your overall community, because, you know, sports is such a big part of all of the Royals, you know, here. And I mean, even if you're not going to the games, you still know about it. You know, you still
Right.
hear about it.
Yeah.
So just being part of that, I just wanted the mindset of, you know, going into it, being able to help your community. Yeah, I feel like you're such a special type of athlete to be able to like have all that. Just maybe some more insight, just like your day to day, being able to have so much effect on your community around you.
Yeah, I think it has a lot to do with the coaches here and like the athletic department, because, you know, like this is like the RoyalVision podcast, but like we have the Royal Way as well, and like we come up with a motto every year, and like this year it's about like the pursuit of excellence. So being a student athlete here at Scranton, like we talk about what we can do as an individual and as a group to strive for excellence. And like I'm blessed to be in a setting where like I do have the time to go to class, and I do have the time to go to practice, and I do have the time to give back to my community at the same time. And just like being an athlete isn't my only identity. I'm a whole person here, and that's something super, super special that I don't think a lot of collegiate student athletes can say.
Yeah, you aren't just one thing. I mean, out of everybody that I'm going to be talking to, I know we're all multitaskers, and being the whole person, I mean, that's a huge part of being an athlete here at the University of Scranton. And I think many athletes that I'm going to talk to will have the same sentiment. So I really appreciate you bringing that up. Mainly talking about the actual sport now of field hockey, right? You know, kind of like some other sports, a lot of people aren't like turning it on, watching it on the TV, right? So I was just wondering how you know, definitely make it easier to understand for some people. Like, how do you kind of connect the line?
Yeah, field hockey's a little confusing. There's a lot of rules that I think people don't understand, which might be kind of hard if you don't get it, to kind of sit there and watch and just be in a constant state of confusion. So I kind of just like try to relate certain rules to like more common based sports that people would probably more know about. Like sometimes I'll be like, oh, field hockey's kind of just like lacrosse, but like on the ground, or like a little bit of soccer, but like just with different rules, and we use one side of our stick and like a harder ball, I guess. But sometimes like if people care enough to ask about the rules, like I'll I'll like be a
In
little
depth.
nerd.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I'll like go into immense detail about everything because I get excited. But
Nice. And I'm definitely going to ask this to like every athlete because I think this is so interesting on how this question you can kind of get a real insight about how an athlete thinks and who they want to be. Just like some inspirations. They don't exactly have to be, in your specific sport. I know a lot of people have a lot of different inspirations, but, just inspirations to you, period. I'd love to know.
I have a few. I think my family, of course. I mean, my parents have supported me through everything. My brother has played a really big part in, I think, how I turned out as an athlete. My brother's 2 years older than me, and he, played basketball, he played football, he played lacrosse, and, like, being the younger sibling, you always want to be like your big brother or your big sister, like, and you want to be as good as them. And, like, my brother growing up always kind of, like, did a good job at, like, toughen me up a little bit and making sure, like, that I was, like, putting in that time, whether we were just, like, playing in the backyard or shooting around in the driveway. Like, he always never went easy on me. So when, those tougher competitors come up, I'm like, I got this,
Awesome. And maybe speaking in terms of actually more athletic inspiration, I was wondering if you have any maybe athlete in mind that you like, kind of speaks to you, or maybe you strive to kind of be like in your career.
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely have one. Growing up, I used to be like really into basketball, and like I would used to like watch like clips of like Kobe Bryant or like Allen Iverson, and just like kind of like watch, their mind. Like Kobe's real big and like to the mindset
His
stuff.
attitude, yeah.
And then like I would watch like videos of like Allen Iverson, like with his like ball handling and stuff like that. So I guess like more basketball based, but
Great. I mean, honestly, attributes that we can see in all of our athletes too. I was wondering when generally, your games are, a lot of people, I think at the university, sometimes they're not exactly sure when events are, if schedules get thrown around and stuff like that. So I was just wondering if you can maybe shed some more light on people that are definitely interested on seeing you play. Absolutely.
Yeah, so the field hockey season runs from like August to when we get back to like probably November, depending on how far we go. We play twice a week, Wednesday nights and Saturday. Wednesday, the time usually varies. It's a night game. Saturdays are at 1 o'clock. We play down at Weiss Field. So it's off campus, so I know the Iggy runs when there's games.
Yeah, we do have that transportation.
Yeah, and if you know someone with a car, you can always get in the car and come down.
Especially, absolutely. I was wondering, because, the schools have, rival teams and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Who exactly would you say are like your biggest, just people who drive you to play better when you play against them, like team-wise?
Catholic and Susquehanna.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. They're always our like top two competitors like every year.
Any like specific reason? Maybe like some people on that team, or like just the team as a whole?
Usually it's the team as a whole. I think it's always they're just both pretty talented teams, and so are we. So the level is pretty equal when we play, and we both know that when we face each other. So there's always like that little thought of like, oh,
yeah,
go,
right.
Either way. But I also have some like personal connections to those schools as well. Yeah, like I have friends on Catholic's field hockey team, and I have friends that go to Susquehanna. So I personally have a little extra drive to make sure
works.
that I can,
obviously by the stats it works.
Joke around with my friends after those games. So
yeah, absolutely. I was wondering how deep the connection is. I mean, you were already talking about it. Like, I can tell that you think very highly of your team, and they're a very important part of your life. I would just love a little bit insight about how just like a day-to-day with your team is, because I'm sure you're very close with them.
Yeah.
You might even live with some of them.
I do.
See. So I would just love to know how big of an impact they leave on your life.
Yeah. My teammates are my family. Like, they're past friend status. Like, I always joke, like, I only have a brother. Like, I always joke and say that I have, like, however many girls are rostered that year as, like, sisters. So, like, I think we had, like, 30. Like, I had, like, 33 sisters. Like, I can go to any girl on our team if I'm having a bad day, or if I'm going through something, or if I'm excited about something. I can talk to anyone on that team. Like, they're my sisters, and I love each and every single one of them to death. So
that's amazing. And talking to you, like you said, you're OT, and you're going for your master's degree, and the workload for that major is pretty strenuous. So you are juggling a lot. And now I would love to know if there are any other OT majors on the team too.
There is one.
Okay.
Yeah, other.
So yeah,
She's a
they kind of get it.
sophomore. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so she hasn't gotten to the brunt of it yet, but
yeah, there you go.
soon.
Does that hit in the end? Generally?
Yeah, she's a sophomore, so it's kind of hitting-ish now.
Okay.
And then it just
Kind of setting in. It's just getting.
a little bit, yeah. So.
And what is it? Are you doing like clinicals and stuff like that?
Yeah, we do fieldwork rotations,
Okay.
but mine are over breaks. So I have had 3 clinicals already, or fieldworks, I guess. I had one over winter break, and I was working in South Philly at a subacute center with patients that had a stroke, a brain injury, spinal cord injury, and that were all ventilator dependent. So
It's fair. And how can you? I feel like you have a very special perspective with that too, because being an athlete, you do get hurt.
yeah,
You know, and you are out, and sometimes you're forced to stop doing the thing that you love. And I feel like you can definitely bring. I would love to even hear about like what you have to bring that special perspective to these patients.
yeah. I think definitely when being in that setting, like you become more appreciative of like the body that you have. Like, you know, there are days at practice where I'm like, I don't know if I can do that one last sprint. But then I think back to like the patients that I've helped that have been in there for months that can't even breathe on their own. And I'm like, I have the body that I have and I'm able to do that. As well as like when I'm working with them, like I have just recently like gone through an injury myself. So obviously not as severe, but like, you know what everyone's goal is when they're going through something like that, and it's get better. And like, I just want to do everything in my power to make them comfortable, to make them get better so that they can do the things that they want to do.
Yeah. And kind of switching off of that, your final sort of senior year, right? I'd love to know what's going to drive you this entire year. I'm sure you have something in mind, but I mean, it is going to be your last one. Thank God that you got another one, right? But I mean, you know, you're coming up on some more records too, like I hear. And I mean, some people love the pressure. It drives them to do better. And some people, you know, just like hate it. And, you know, they want to be out. They just want to like get the game back. So I'm just wondering how you balance that.
Yeah, I think I look at pressure as a privilege. You know, like I'm on a team that's good enough to have eyes on them. You know, I'm on a team that's good enough to, you know, have other teams not want to play us. So I think just keeping that mindset of like pressure is a privilege and like just other driven factors. I mean, like I said, losing that championship game was not ideal, especially in a triple overtime. So that kind of makes my blood boil a little bit when I think about it. And I recently just got like a knee surgery done 3 weeks ago. So that's just like a personal thing for me where I'm going to put in as many hours as I can right now to get back to where I was.
And that's, I mean, the strive to do better. And I feel like you can find that in a lot of athletes. And kind of harping back to our community, I feel like if you're, you know, in the sports, you know a lot about it, and you know how great our sports are here. I mean, multiple conference championships. I mean, multiple student stars that have like excelled expectations. But maybe to a more general audience that doesn't know what's going on, you know, our attendance is always a little shaky.
Yeah.
If you could talk to probably the general audience, say like, you know, it was like an admissions event or something like that, and we had a bunch of prospective students. Like, what do you think you would say to them to try and get them out to these games?
Well, I mean, when I go to other sports teams games, I have a blast, and it's always like so much fun. Like I went to the women's basketball game on Saturday, and like they were playing Catholic, and we packed the gym, and like it was just like electric. Like a bunch of student athletes were there, and it was like we all were like on the edge of our seats, like standing up, doing chants. I've been to men's soccer games, you know, just, you know, screaming for my friends. Women's soccer is extremely talented. Like they are phenomenal. I mean, they've won the landmark. I can't even count how many years, you know. Men's lacrosse won the landmark last year. So like I want to go, and now I want to like watch them do it again. So kind of just like, I think if I were talking to prospective students, I would say all of that and just be like, there's potential, and like you want to be a part of that history that every team makes here every year.
Do you think our community actually being there is like a huge part of us like succeeding?
100%. I mean, there are games, and it's tough to say because you don't want your performance to be dependent on who shows up to your games, but like I think any athlete can say that like when there's a crowd, you just the energy completely changes. Like I think back to one specific game when we played Vassar this year. It was our brain cancer awareness game. The entire men's lacrosse team showed up, men's soccer showed up. Like any athlete that could have shown up that didn't have an obligation was there. And we were down 2-0. And the energy from the stand, we came back with 4 unanswered goals. And it was just like it gave me chill. It gives me chills to think about
absolutely.
because I'm like, like they're doing that because if it were them, they would want it too, And it was just like a total motivator to have like my peers there, like cheering me on, and it made me want to do better.
Yeah, I definitely think we all need more of that.
Yeah.
I mean, just the student support, it carries. Kind of coming up near the end, and the one thing that's been on my mind is, do you have any story, like any athletic story that can stick out in your mind that you can carry with you? You tell people, you hold it very special to your heart, just like could maybe even like had an effect to like shape who you are now. I feel like every athlete has one of those stories, and I'd love to hear it if you have it.
Yeah. My sophomore year was when we won the Landmark. It was a great year, but I unfortunately lost my father shortly after the championship game, and he was my rock. He was my motivator. I mean, my dad would go to the field with me, and I would shoot on cage, and he would go and he would pick up all the loose balls that rolled away. He would just come and sit and watch me run to make sure that I was, hitting the time that I needed to hit and that I wasn't, like jogging around. Like he always made sure I was putting in the work, but he made sure that it was fun for me too. So, having him there for that championship was a blessing. And, coming into these last 2 years, it's been tough because, he was my cheerleader. Like he would have pom-poms, like purple pom-poms at every game. Yeah. He was like so superstitious. He would wear the same outfit. So, he's always on my mind. And like every time that whistle blows at like every game, I know that he's watching, and I know that he's waving those purple pom-poms for me wherever he is, and that I just want to, do it for him. And I just think about how proud he would be no matter what the circumstances are. So I always keep that near and dear to my heart. Every time I do something, it's for him.
Yeah, no, definitely amazing story.
Thank you.
So I was, for, everybody listening, how can we keep up with the team?
Yeah, well, we have an Instagram, U of S Field Hockey. It's run by Reagan Dolan, one of our players. She's great. She puts a lot of time and effort into it. Royal Athletics, I think, post. They do a good job. They make videos and edits, which is great. We have a Twitter, and then, just like, I guess, word of mouth, asking around, stuff like that. Yeah, social media always plays a big part in this stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. So any maybe last words that you'd like to say, maybe anything on your mind, just to kind of finish it out, and then we'll be done.
Yeah, I just think, field hockey has a really big year coming up, and if people can come out and support, that'd be great. And, just remember to like put in that work every day and just like have fun while you're doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know if anybody else could tell, but I'm going to all these games now. You convinced me.
Thank you.
Out of everything you said. So be sure to follow their Instagram. Obviously check all that, find out their games, the coming up season. It's going to be huge. And I just want to give you a big thank you for coming on and talking to me a little bit. I definitely enjoyed our time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
No, absolutely, please. You're going to have to come back. But that was a RoyalVision podcast. Be sure to look up some more. I know in a few weeks we're going to be talking to some of the swim athletes because they have a big meet coming up. So thank you all for listening, and we will see you next time.